This is episode number 38 of The Inspiring Talk with singer and songwriter Dorothy Ann. Welcome guys to The Inspiring Talk. My name is Bijay Gautam. I'm host for this show. Each week I interview today's most successful and inspiring personalities to help you realize your inner potential. I'm super excited for my guest today, Dorothy Ann. Dorothy is a singer and songwriter based in the United States. She is inspiring people across the globe with her contemporary songs blended with hope and faith. She has gone through a challenging time in her own life when she lost her daughter soon after she gave birth to her, and she captures a theme of hope in midst of pain with her lyrics, pairing them with bright, catchy melodies and beautiful orchestrations. Dorothy's debut EP, Always Hope, is a collection of deeply personal songs. The single Don't Let Me Go attracted high praise from fans on iTunes. In this episode, we talk about finding hope midst of challenge, Dorothy's journey from singing in high school to finally releasing her own EP, her suggestions for people on crowdfunding to get their dreams fulfilled, her creative process of writing songs, and much more. I thoroughly enjoyed having this conversation with Dorothy. I hope you will enjoy as much as I did. Now, before I welcome Dorothy, I'd like to thank you guys for leaving a review on iTunes, Castbox, and other different platforms. I'm so glad that you guys are listening to the show and taking time to leave a review. Keep them coming as they really means a lot to me and I read each one of them. And if this is your first time listening to this show, make sure that you subscribe to this podcast so that you won't miss amazing upcoming episodes. Also guys, last month I launched an online group podcast coaching program where I can help you launch your own awesome podcast within 6 weeks. I handhold you for these 6 weeks with all the minute details you will ever need, such as coming out with idea, picking up name for your podcast, equipment and software that you will ever need, and also I will give you access to dedicated WhatsApp group for questions and discussions, and it also includes my online video course on editing audio, which has got more than 20 videos now so that you can get started with editing your own podcast. So if you are interested in starting your own podcast, write to me at bijay@theinspiringtalk.com or simply fill the contact form on the website theinspiringtalk.com. Currently, there are 15 people taking this coaching and they will be launching their podcast very, very soon. And I'm super excited for them all. And the next batch of the class starts on June 17 and I have got a very few seats left. So write to me if you want to be part of this. Now, without further ado, let me welcome Dorothy Ann. Welcome back inside this episode, guys. I'm super pumped for Dorothy joining me today. Dorothy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, BJ. So happy to be here.
And this is finally happening. Thank you so much. And thanks to your husband, Dustin, for reaching out and arranging this.
Yes, he's the best.
Yeah. So, Dorothy, you are homeschooling your 5 kids, right?
I am. I'm a stay-at-home mom, homeschooling 5 kids plus 1 on the way.
How difficult is it to manage 5 kids?
I wouldn't say it's difficult. I would say at times it can be challenging, but it's so rewarding. It's just like they say, kids are just so amazing and it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of training. It's just a lot of being consistent, loving them through their faults and them loving me through my shortcomings. And it's just great. I've always wanted a big family. It was a dream of mine since I was a little girl to have a big family. And I feel very blessed and fortunate to be where I'm at today.
Yeah, I can imagine the challenge you have to go through every single day as a mom. But as you said, it's fun at the same time, right? So
it is.
Yeah.
You make it fun. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. So you have recently released your EP, Always Hope, with 5 songs. And I was listening to your songs last night and I love them all. You have got a beautiful voice. I never had one. Like one thing that, I have you can say a complaint to God is that, I don't have that voice. Maybe you shouldn't be complaining, but yes, I mean, that is one thing that, I feel that, I could have been given. Anyways, Yeah. So you cover
Thank
everything.
you for that.
Yeah. You cover everything from love to faith and hope on this EP, right? So, and I'm sure music is inspiring people across the world and giving hope. How did you even got into singing? What's your story?
Sure. Well, my mom says I was singing as a baby in her arms, and I tend to believe her because I have some of my babies, they hum back to me certain melodies, and it's amazing how music is just in children. So I believe her. I was raised in the church, singing in the church since I was a teenager, and also sang in college, high school choirs. I'm still currently singing at my local church right now. So I've just been trained in school and also college and life, just singing outside at different events that I've been invited to. So that's how I kind of got a, practical experience singing. I've also taken vocal lessons too. I remember watching a show when I was a teenager about this young man that was telling his teacher he wanted to be a singer. And so the teacher asked him, well, have you taken vocal lessons? And he said, yes. And then the teacher proceeded to showcase him and say, well, why don't you sing for the class? And as soon as he started singing, everybody was in awe. And so I kind of took that to heart as a kid. Like, if I want to be a performer, I need to take lessons and take it seriously. So I have taken lessons as well.
So you said that, it was one of your childhood dreams. So what are some other childhood dream of yours?
Well, other than being a mom of a large family, and when I was probably third or fourth grade, I remember asking myself, just for some reason, just a profound question, what do I want to do with my life?
You said? You were in third or
I was probably around third or fourth grade. So that would be around 9 or 10 years old, if I'm calculating it correctly. And I just asked myself, like, what do I want to do with my life? Like, what am I good at? And the thought instantly came to me, singing. I love singing. I love performing. I loved showmanship. Some of my favorite things watching as a kid were award shows. I loved seeing like the performances and then seeing how people, after all their hard work, would get, it paid off by the accolades that they would get. So yeah, I just knew as a young kid, I wanted to be a professional recording artist.
So as you said, you asked yourself that question. And what I'm more interested in knowing is what led you to ask yourself that question? Like, where did you get that awareness of asking yourself that question, or any specific events that led you to ask that question, or it was just a random thing that came to you and then you were asking yourself that question?
I think that I've always been super introverted, as in like I would think a lot internally. I grew up in a single parent home. So, there was a lot of, on the outside, it could seem kind of chaotic and some things were dysfunctional, but internally I would just, question things like, well, why did this happen to this person? And, why did my dad leave? Or, just different things like that. So I think I was just always processing things internally. So I was really just by myself when I asked myself, what do I want to do in life? And that's what I came up with. And so sure enough, like step by step, I've been working towards that in my adulthood to do that. And I'm so happy. Like, it feels so good to finally see that dream accomplished of having my debut CD out and available for anyone in the world to get. It feels really good.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it's always like great to have your dreams fulfilled, and it's amazing. So, who was your childhood hero, or some singer or maybe artist that you grew up looking up to?
I would say, of course, some of the greats like Mariah Carey. I also really liked Amy Grant and classics like Ella Fitzgerald, even girl groups like TLC. I grew up in the 90s, so I'm familiar with a lot of 90s music. It was fun. My sister and cousin and I would listen to the radio, and a lot of times when they would do giveaways, you call the number and you try to be like the fifth caller. So we would spend some of our afternoons trying to be that fifth caller, and every once in a while we would get through it. It was just so thrilling to us. So I'm a big radio buff as well.
Your mother has helped you tremendously for you in following your dreams, right? So what are some of the specific things that you, if you can recall, your mom did or maybe said to you to ensure that you followed your heart being a singer and performing artist?
That is a really great question, BJ. And I was just thinking about this the other day because when I was little, I thought that I was just going to do pop music. That's, like I said, what I listened to on the radio. That's what I wanted to do. But one day after listening to me, she just looked over and she said, I really think that you should focus on, and I really think that you can do contemporary Christian music. And at first I resisted it. I thought, oh, that's just kind of boring. That's not what I want to do. It doesn't seem fun and exciting. But in the long run, she was absolutely correct. Like, I was young when she said that, and I didn't receive it well because I didn't see what she saw in me, which was the potential in my heart. Like, my heart right now is not to just do pop music. I have a really big heart to help people, and especially people that are lost and hurting. And so it is very fitting for me to do more inspirational type music that reaches people with the express purpose of sharing my faith with people. So I was really glad that she not only invested thousands of dollars as far as performance tapes, because I would sing to, back then it was accompaniment tracks. Nowadays we have iTunes and we can just buy background vocals. Well, back then you had to buy cassette tapes with the trackings, and like one of those tapes were a good, I want to say $9 to $10. So it was expensive, and I had hundreds of them. So I had a lot. So my mom invested in me, not just with vocal lessons, but also just my performance tools, from clothing that I'd have to wear on stage and everything like that. So she's really big. I owe her a huge debt of gratitude to my success right now.
Awesome.
And still to this day, she's super supportive. Like I had 2 CD release parties, and she organized the second one, which was a really great success too. So she's very supportive in my corner. I'm really grateful for her life.
Wow, that's awesome. The reason I asked you that question is maybe there are a lot of parents listening to this, right? So it's always great, or parents as a parents, right? You should be giving your children opportunity at least, to follow or at least try on the passion that they are, following, or something they love about, right? So you yourself have got 5 kids, and I hope like you are doing the same with your kids, like letting them do what they want to do with their life.
Absolutely. Yes. And I was just telling someone the other day that, I don't force them, because it would be really easy for me to be like, okay, I'm a singer. You guys are all going to be singers. You're all going to be performers. But I know that every child is unique and has unique giftings. So it's our job as parents to recognize that child's specific unique giftings and then shape them in that direction to where they should go. So one child could be a great dancer, and even if it's a little boy, like still kind of cultivate that. Don't push it, because sometimes when you push little boys, they resist. So, I have one son that is just such a natural when it comes to dancing. So I just let him dance, and I sometimes will just sneak my camera and kind of record him from a distance, just to, so he doesn't get intimidated, but he does a great job. And then I do have a daughter that I call her my songbird, because ever since she was little, she was singing. Like, I never had to coax her to sing. She just would just sing songs from the other room. And then all my kids are great lyricists. They can sing the lyrics to songs better than I can. I guess it's their brains. They have like sponges for brains, so they can absorb it so much faster than we adults can.
Yeah, true. So Dorothy, what inspired the title Always Hope for your EP?
Another great question. So I have 2 stories that come to mind. One of them is, both of them has a little bit of sadness behind it, but I'll go ahead and share both of them to you. In 2015, we found out exciting news that we were expecting our second baby girl. I already had 4 boys and 1 daughter. And so it was great news for the whole family that they were going to get a little girl, especially for my daughter. She was going to finally have a sister. And at one of the sonogram appointments that checks out to make sure everything's okay with the baby, they gave us some devastating news. And the news was that the baby had something called trisomy 13, which is pretty lethal in that a lot of children that have this diagnosis do not survive. And the doctor, as nice as he was, he gently just told me, there's no point in surgery. There's no point in trying to make a way because she's not gonna make it. And I looked at him and I asked him, well, why not? There's always hope. And that kind of just this like, my heart just kind of like it sank, but at the same time there was this small seed of hope. Like, well, what if, she could beat all odds? And it's BJ, it's true. There are some kids that do survive. It is few and far between, but there are some kids that survive. So even to the very end, we were hoping and praying, God, if it's your will, let this baby live. We love her already. All of the kids, every day they would pray for her at dinner time and just pray for her and please heal baby Gracie, all this and that. And we had hope, and we walked through a very, very difficult time in 2015 when we made it full term. I was told we could not even we possibly could lose her before I was 9 months, but we made it full term. So that was an answered prayer. And then we delivered her, and we were told she could just be stillborn when you deliver. And she was breathing when we delivered her. And we got to hold that precious little girl for 56 minutes. And it was the best 56 minutes of her life. Like, we'd never experienced such deep emotion and love.
Sure.
She just brought us so much love. And a really great thing that our uncle told us, my husband's uncle said, all that baby girl knew was love. She passed away, but all she ever knew was love. And so that was very comforting at the time. That was the first story. That was one instance of having that tenacious hope in your heart, regardless of what the doctors say, regardless of what typical diagnosis results could be, just believing even to the end. And then secondly, one day I was watching this show that you might have heard of, maybe some of you guys. It's called Hoarders.
Okay.
It's kind of it's very stressful. My husband doesn't even like to watch it because it's so stressful, because people acquire so many things and it's hard for them to let go, right? So it affected this man who had this disease, in a sense, of hoarding, and his wife left him. They were still married, but his wife left him. The counselor comes into the show and sits them both down and asks her, excuse me, do you ever see you guys getting back together again? Like, if he gets better? And she just looks at him and said, well, there's always hope. And so that was another instance where I was thinking, wow, most people would give up on somebody with that type of mental issue, but she thought, yeah, there's hope for our marriage. There's always just a little hope there. And so that was pretty much like the two stories that help influence naming the album Always Hope. A lot of the songs on there talks about having hope in the midst of tragedy, having hope in the midst of loss. The Sun Rises, in particularly, that was inspired by the Typhoon Haiyan that hit the Philippines in 2013, I believe, if I'm not getting the dates right, killing over 5,000 people instantly, just shocking, these biggest tragedy by a natural disaster. So that song is very special to me because I was born in the Philippines. And so that country has a special place in my heart. And I was very just honored to be able to write a song for that country I was born in.
I got a chance to listen to that, and it is powerful. And then thank you so much, Dorothy, for being vulnerable and sharing your story, because a lot of people out there listening to this might be, in that same kind of situation, or maybe going through the same hardship in their own life, but it's not the challenge that, should limit you, or, you should be holding on to that, but you have to move on, and then you have to find some new hope and then move forward in your life, right? So thanks again for sharing that.
Even though in the moment you're in grief and you might not be able to feel like you can get out of it, like there is hope. There is hope to have a new day that will be easier than the day before. It might not take a month, it might take half a year. It might even take a year. But I would just encourage every listener out there, don't stay in the grief so long where it decapitates you, where it hinders you from doing and helping other people. Because really, life is about helping other people. The more that we can help people, the more fulfilling our life really is.
Awesome. So, Dorothy, let's switch gear to your creative process, right? So when you write your songs, is there any specific time that you have written most of your songs, or it's just random, or time, is there anything like schedule that, okay, this is time when I have written most of my songs?
I tend to write songs in the evening when all the kids are in bed and it's nice and quiet. I was just telling my husband, it helps me to focus when I'm just still and quiet myself. And I can just hash out lyrics and melodies. So normally it's in the evening time is when I write.
Mm-hmm. So what's the greatest line that you have ever written?
The greatest line?
Yep.
I mean, I guess it would be my closing song, Jesus, You Saved Me. He's my anchor, so that would be the greatest line.
So how many
it's my testimony.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how many songs have you written so far? Both published and unpublished, and
I wish I knew. I don't have a number. I have loads of journals in in my closet, just with lots of half-written songs. So, fully songs, maybe 24 full songs, but so many unfinished songs. I don't count those, obviously, but
so, yeah, exactly. You took me to where I wanted to head, and it is like, how many times do you write and rewrite a particular song on an average? If you have to, I know that, it might be hard to remember, but typically, how many times do you write before, a song get final, or, you love it the way you wanted it to be?
I would say it takes me about 2 to 3 weeks to finalize a song. So it could be that song might have had 3 or 4 rewrites, or it could be 5 or 6 rewrites. Mm-hmm. But that is one of my strengths, is refining. So I can pretty much come up with a line and know whether or not I like it, and sew it all together with other lines and decide, is this good or not? I get it to the point where I'm open to letting other people listen to it. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, by their response, I can tell if this song is ready to go. Mm-hmm. I know before if the song is ready to go, but if I want to get some feedback from other people, I'll get it to that point where I'm ready to share it. I don't usually share halfway written songs. I usually finish it out and then share it with people before I call it finished.
Awesome. So in your EP, Don't Let Me Go and, as you said, The Sunrises are the 2 songs that I love the most. Obviously, all 5 songs are amazing. And
thank you.
Yeah, these 2 songs I personally loved, and I really love the music, and then your voice, and then the lyrics and the words, right? It's just powerful, I loved it. So obviously, as you said, the song, The Sunrises, worked as a healing song for people going through that kind of situation, in not only in Philippines, or maybe, any other kind of, that kind of events that goes in any part of the world, right?
Yeah,
Any kind of
all over
tragedy
the
that
world.
goes- yeah.
Yes. The Sun Rises is especially meaningful because it was inspired by the Philippines. But I've had people that I've reached out to that maybe lost a child, and I'll send them that song, and they're really, really touched by it because there is darkness when there's grief and loss. But just a reminder that regardless of the darkness that you're facing, that the next day the sun will rise. It's just a given. The sun will rise again. So yes, I do think that all over the world, people can relate to that same experience.
So what was the biggest challenge that you have faced in releasing this EP?
Well, I think that the biggest challenge that I faced releasing this EP was finances. For a long time, I felt that how am I going to afford releasing an album? Because that was my end goal. Like I wanted to release an album. You know, that's how you start off in the music industries. You have to have a product. And so I found myself with family life, sometimes you don't have several $1,000s just laying around that you can spend on your profession. So I decided I wanted to get more educated on how to produce a CD so I wouldn't be ignorant of fees and just the whole procedure of it. Because again, I didn't go to school for becoming a recording artist. I've had to learn this on my own. I've had to study it on my own. And so I did. I took a course. It was called CMI. And the first instructor basically encouraged all the students. He said, you don't have to focus on an album first. A better strategy is to get a single out. From a single, do an EP. From an EP, do an album. And so I thought, that's brilliant. I should just do that. And so that's what I did. I did have enough money saved that I could produce a single. With that single, I released it for free to people for a certain amount of time, and I acquired emails. I built my fan base that way. I built supporters that way. People that liked the song. It was Don't Let Me Go. I released that as a single, and they really liked the song, and they became hungry to get more. And so from there, the next strategy was to do a crowdfunding campaign. And I thought that, that should be simple enough. You just have a goal, set a goal, create a campaign on a platform, and then share it on social media. But it was a lot more than that. It was a part-time job on the side to have a successful fundraising campaign. And I have to credit my husband because he did a lot of research. He figured out things that worked for other people. We interviewed some other musician friends that had successful ones, asked them what they did to be fully funded. And so we took the information that we learned and then we applied it to fundraising for my EP. And I'm happy to say that we did reach over 100% for my project, my debut CD project.
Oh, that's awesome. So what are your tips for crowdfunding success to someone looking to run a crowdfunding campaign?
Well, my husband and I actually put together a webinar called 7 Secrets to Successful Crowdfunding. And some of the tips that we share in it are to have a good short video. A lot of people have a video that is not very concise and to the point. And so I would say that, really work on a video that has all the details that you need in a short amount of time. Nowadays, people's attention span is so short. So you really have to get them within the first minute or two. You don't want to make a long 10-minute plea. Just make it a short 3, not even 5 minutes. Just, I would say 3 to 4 minute video that's well done, but has all the points that you need. Answer the question why. Why should people support you? What's in it for them? And make sure the call to action is clear. Sometimes people say, I would appreciate you to share this on Facebook. Well, sharing is good and it's good for traction, but really, you really want to ask people, I'd appreciate it. Could you please donate towards this cause? And then, of course, ask for specific amounts in the perks. And then a lot of times people put a dozen perks, like a dozen bonuses. Like if you give $50, then you get this, or if you give 100, you give this. And there's so many that they'll do, a dozen perks when really 5-7 perks is sufficient. Mm-hmm. And the most popular amount, I believe, is around $50. So make sure your $50 perk is the perk that's most appealing, because on average, the $50 perk is what people gravitate towards. Mm-hmm. So those are just a few of our tips. One of the other ones is have a team. True. You can't do anything by yourself. I mean, you can get things started by yourself, but if you have a team of people to help you to get on board, that's really important. And you just simply reach out to people specific that they have a heart for you and they want to see you succeed. Just get them on board. These people will be the first ones to donate to you. Mm-hmm. You have to ask them before. You don't want to wait till your campaign is launched to ask people. True. You want to ask people a month or two before and have all these things lined up. So it's a lot of preparation. That's the key, preparation for successful crowdfunding.
So now, Dorothy, it's time for the enlightening round. Are you excited for the enlightening round?
Of course. It's the best round.
Awesome. So, Dorothy, what inspires you to do everything that you do?
What inspires me is to help people, especially those who are hurting. There's so many people out there that are hurting, and I just want my music to help for healing, to help give them inspiration and hope in their darkest moments. So when I write, I specifically think of those people, and that's what inspires me to continue to do what I do. It's not easy, BJ. There were times in the recording process where I was just questioning myself, do I really want to do this? Because you have to have a thick skin when you're recording. Mm. You cannot be shy about getting any kind of constructive criticism, because producers can be pretty brutal. Mm. If you have a good producer, they will be blunt and brutal, and you have to have a thick skin, and you have to encourage yourself to keep going even when you feel like giving up. So that's what inspires me.
Awesome. So which one daily habit do you believe has been game changer for you in your success journey?
Game changer for sure has been freedom journaling. It's this journal that John Lee Dumas produced, mm-hmm. and it's how to accomplish your goals in 100 days. Game changer. Right before my CD launch, the season before my CD launch, I was feeling overwhelmed. I didn't know how I was going to get everything done. And my husband said, why don't you try this freedom journal? And I at first was very hesitant, because what can a journal do to help me get this CD launched? But I tell you what, it has been the best accountability journal that I've ever gone through. And it's so simple, but yet so effective. Every day you write down the one thing that you're grateful for that day. And then you state, in 100 days, I will state your purpose, like launched my debut EP, Always Hope. And so every single day there's a countdown. In 99 days, I will, and then you're restating it again. Mm. And then it also asks you to write down your number one focus for that day. Mm-hmm. And then the breaking down the goals and saying, to get closer to my goals, I will 1, 2, 3, so it was very systematic. It was very, again, it's accountability. I love the accountability. So journaling this way has been like a game changer for me. And I attribute it to this. I attribute that as my success factor.
Which one book, according to you, is a must read, or maybe the book that has left a big impact on you that you'd like to recommend to everyone?
I would recommend the book Way of the Master by Ray Comfort. It's a really good read.
So, Dorothy, if you were to start this success journey all over again, what are those 3 things that you would have done differently?
I would start sooner. I would write more. And I would work in quarters. And what I mean by quarters is like a quarter of a year. Mm-hmm. Especially if you are married and your spouse has creative or other business aspirations. I think it's very important as an entrepreneur to have a balance in your pursuits where you're not overworked, overburdened, and you balance it out by working in quarters. So for instance, this first quarter, we're focusing on my husband's book that he's writing. So I'm going to be helping him edit it. And my music has taken a little bit of a back burner, but I'm okay with that because last quarter, he helped me with my music launch. He's my executive producer. He did so many things for me, and I appreciate his support. So now I want to help him in this quarter work on his goals. And I think that's how we're going to get more things accomplished throughout the years. For several years, we had big dreams and goals written out. But if you don't break it down in small pieces, then it can be overwhelming. So this is, I guess, my advice: to break it down in small pieces is to work in quarters.
I love that. I love the way you guys are working in harmony and then helping each other accomplish each one's goal. And I think that's where partners' role come in, right? Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Dorothy, can you share any online tool or app that you use on a regular basis and you have found very, very useful in your business or life?
Well, I think this is probably more popular now, but when I first heard about it, I was blown away. But I love Canva. Canva.com is awesome. Canva. Now, when they became an app, I was thrilled because I could just take it anywhere on an app. And then when they made it mobile friendly, I was even more like on a smaller device. Because I think it was available iPad first, and then now you can do it on your iPhone. It's great. Like I do a lot of my social media things using Canva posts. So I love Canva. It's definitely my go-to. It's so user-friendly, a lot of great designs, and even free images that are beautiful. So I would recommend Canva, the app.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, app or even the web version, I really love that. And I can't publish any of the episode without going to Canva, because that's where I create all my graphics and thumbnails and arts and everything out there. So amazing.
It's great. They've done a great thing.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to give shout out to those guys, and thanks. It's, you brought it up so that, I can, recommend those guys to people listening here to try out. I'll link that up on the show notes, and make sure that you check. So, Dorothy, I have one more question left for you. But before that, if people would want to, buy your CD or maybe listen to your songs or maybe attend one of your webinars or, learn more about you and your work, what's the best possible way to get connected with you?
I would love for your listeners to check me out at my website, www.dorothyand.com. That's DorothyN with an E.com. And that would be probably the best way for them to learn more about me and stay connected.
That's awesome, guys. Make sure that you connect and check her song sample on her website. And if you love them, make sure that you get them on iTunes and all other different platforms where digital products are sold. And they are available all over places. And make sure that you also get connected with Dorothy on her Facebook, Instagram, and all other different social media platforms. And now, Dorothy, I have this last question. Imagine that you are on stage and there are millions of people on that particular event that you are going, and it is like the largest ever built, arena in the world, and every single seat on that arena is fulfilled, and people are eagerly listening to you. They are opening their eyes wide and listening very, very, very carefully to you, and you are there on the stage, and you have to share the most important lesson that you have learned in your life, and you have only got 1 minute to get your message across. What would be your message?
Well, in one sentence, I would say, life is too short not to live your dreams, so go for it.
Go for it. It was phenomenal. Thank you so much, Dorothy, for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, BJ. Great to meet you.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you learned something or got some inspiration. If you did, make sure that you share this episode with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram by visiting theinspiringtalk.com/3838. You will also find all the links and resources mentioned in this episode by visiting show notes page at theinspiringtalk.com/3838. If you like to launch your own awesome podcast and build your authority in your industry, then reach out to me for online group podcast coaching program at bijay@theinspiringtalk.com or fill out the contact form on the website theinspiringtalk.com. Thank you so much for listening. I'll catch you in the next. Now go out there and do something inspiring.